Hello and welcome to the Football Fan Show podcast, back for a brand new year. Thank you very much. I'm Danny Harrington and I'm joined by Callum Brown, talking about all the things we missed over Christmas, like the PSG managerial position, Thomas Tuchel being sacked and replaced by Poch. We're going to be talking about that. Mesut Ozil, apparently he could be leaving Arsenal on a free if Arsenal can agree a rumoured £7.2 million termination of his contract. He could be joining Fenerbahce on a free, but do they need him? We'll be discussing it, and we'll be talking about potential circuit breakers, lockdowns of the Premier League with more positive COVID-19 cases. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from, or our YouTube channel. It's the Football Fan Show Live, which was shut down for a bit over December, but is now back after YouTube removed us and then brought us back. Thank you, Gary Google. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/the Football Fan Show. Tweet us at TFFS Live. And don't forget, you can join us every Saturday night, 7 till 10 p.m. It is twitch.tv/the Football Fan Show. You can also watch us live on Facebook and on YouTube as well. Let's get into the podcast then. Let's get in. Shall we have a break, or do you want to get into our first topic of conversation?
It's up to you.
Shall we talk about Poch?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Poch at PSG. I was watching Sky Sports on the day that Tuchel was sacked. Thomas Tuchel, I thought, was doing a very good job, but apparently, if you're second in the top flight, then if you don't win every single match, you're done. You're done. Even
Pretty
though
much.
By this point, PSG only care about one competition, and that's the Champions League. But if you don't win the French League, you're gone. Which is speaks very. It's odd that Premier League clubs seem to hire and fire managers, and then PSG are just there going, bye, 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 and that has been their policy. They've nearly been as bad as Watford. They've nearly been as bad as Watford for hiring and firing managers, and since before we get on to Poch, since Thomas Tuchel's departure, he has been linked with a number of jobs, including Arsenal and Chelsea.
Yeah.
I don't see him doing a very good job at Arsenal. Got to be honest. And I think Mikel Arteta will survive. I was surprised that Chelsea might get rid of Frank Lampard. I was surprised because I thought he was doing a good job, and his record. Okay, his record this season isn't great.
Well, he was doing fine, and then all of a sudden he was just doing terrible. He couldn't win a match to save his life.
Yeah. And I don't know. I still think it's a very. I think it's a case with Lampard. He took too big a job too soon in his career. But I think he did a stellar job last season.
Well, yeah, I mean, because there was no expectations. They got top four with the kids because there's no expectations on them. What I find the main problem to be, not so much the league performance, but the fact that the players they brought in, all that big spending they done, only really, I'd say Thiago Silva has actually played well, and maybe the keeper. But they brought Werner and Havertz in, and they've both been absolutely woeful.
Yeah,
so,
I'm just looking at some of the players that they brought in, and I'm just.
Yeah, but Ben Chilwell is they need a left back. That's a good. He's not 50 million, but he's a very good sign. Edouard Mendy, he's been good in goal. I mean, you could have brought anyone in, and he would have been. Yeah, I mean, they needed someone because anyone would have been better than Kepa. They could have put an Umpa in goal, and he would have been better than Kepa. Thiago Silva's been a rock. His experience has proved massive for them. But then they can't decide the striker because he he pretty much has to play Werner, and Werner's been woeful.
Yeah, £47.7 million he cost them from
Yeah,
RB Leipzig, and
he hasn't scored in like 12, 13 matches.
and yet they didn't. I mean, I know they've still got Pulisic in the squad, but who did they let? Was it Batshuayi they let on loan on?
Yeah, he's on loan at Crystal Palace.
Even though he was a part of the first team squad the previous season.
Yeah, I mean, because they got thing is, they got Werner, Abraham, and Giroud, and fact of the matter is, they want to get rid of Giroud, even though Giroud's been their most consistent goal scorer. So they can't decide who they want up front. Because what they keep on doing is they keep on sticking Werner on the left wing, and he can't play it. He's absolutely terrible. But then when they do put him up front, he's terrible.
Yeah.
So
Werner's just not set the world on fire this season. He's not been great, and
they were doing okay, and then they suddenly got a couple of draws in a row, and obviously there's the Man City results, and they're just because they were going from like a title challenge, second, third in table, to now they're in sixth, and now they're fighting for top four. So I mean, something like that. I mean, all that proves is how close everyone is to each other. This season, points wise,
that he's being potentially going to be given the chop this early.
Well, I don't think
they will.
I mean,
because who are they going to get in?
It's been what? Not even 6 months since they brought players in. They need to all gel.
Yeah, that is true.
Because people are saying, "Oh, would they bring in Tuchel to replace him?" But how much of a guaranteed better job is Tuchel going to do?
That's the thing. I don't think he would. I don't think Tuchel would do a better job than Lampard. And to be fair, he is only the fifth favourite to get the next to be the next manager sacked in terms of the odds. I'm just having a look now. The next Premier League manager to go, still Mikel Arteta, still the favourite.
Really?
Still the favourite to go.
Arteta's not. Thing is, it depends on what club it is and how. Because when you look at, say, like Sheffield United, they should absolutely. I mean, you'd think, bring someone else in to guarantee, try and get, at least make a go, try and survive. But they're not going to get rid of what's his name?
Sorry, I will. I've refreshed it now, and Arteta is now way down there. So it's Chris Wilder is the favourite.
Yeah, that's it.
And then Lampard.
Yeah. But they're not going to get. The thing is, Sheffield United aren't going to get rid of Chris Wilder.
No, they're not.
Even though they should. They
probably should, and I know exactly who they should replace him with.
Who?
I mean, the decision is obvious. It's Slaven Bilic.
Wouldn't be bad.
Slaven Bilic, get him. I mean, you're going down anyway, but at least Slaven Bilic will get you playing good football.
Yeah.
You'll go down in a blaze of glory.
He's scoring some goals, yeah.
You'll go down in a blaze of glory.
What I don't get is, like, they bought in Ryan Brewster from us, and he just hasn't worked out with us, but he's a guaranteed goal scorer, and he doesn't play. He doesn't get picked at all. He's on the bench every match, and I'm like, play him. He'll score your goals. He'll get in the right positions. All you have to do is give him the ball in the right position, and he'll score for you. And he just don't. And the problem is that they're not scoring goals. That's a big problem. And then also the crap at the back because you got 47-year-old Phil Jagielka playing. He's got literally zero pace. It's like Minan run faster than him.
I know, but they're sticking with him. That's who they want, and
he should have. I think the big thing for me is that they should have tried. They should have run through walls to keep Dean Henderson.
I will say, I know we'll get on to Poch in a moment, but they are winning 1-0. PSG in his first game in charge. They are winning 1-0 against. I'm going to say the team's name wrong just for comic reasons. They're beating Brest. Chicken breast.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Oh really? Oh right. So it is comedy.
Yeah. Just say it in a French accent. Well.
Oh, Brest. Oh God, no, that sounds wrong.
FC,
That sounds wrong.
Well, to be honest, whatever team it was, when you said it, I was gonna say it correctly. But I don't think there's any other way of saying Brest. It's a shall call them.
So shall I just say PSG 1?
It might be. I think
nil.
I think Brest might be shortened. It might be maybe like Stade Brestois.
Oh,
or
no
something.
one like. I gotta be honest. I'm a man that likes breasts, so I don't like a short breast. Just casual sexism.
I think it might be shortened to
Stade
Brestois to Brest.
Brestois, yeah.
Yeah, Brest. I think it's Brestois, Brest, and then Brestois. But I think instead of saying Brestois, they say Brest.
Yeah. Sorry, immaturity strikes again. So, Thomas Tuchel, sacked by PSG, joined the club. He only signed a 2-year deal, and they extended his contract after they reached the Champions League final by another year. And he was confident.
Literally.
He said he was going to leave anyway.
Final.
Yeah.
What Tuchel?
Yeah, he threatened to leave because he didn't like some of the players.
I mean, he was having some spats with the players. I mean, thing is, when you go to PSG and you've got Neymar and Mbappe there, the first thing you've got to do, apart from being mates with, is it Leonardo, sporting director, or whatever position he's got,
Leonardo.
Best mates with him. Then, when you actually get the job, you've got to get best mates with Neymar and Mbappe, because if they don't like you, and if you're having public spats with them on a training pitch or even during matches, you sign your own death warrant there. You're out straight away. They'll force you out themselves.
They are, that's. And people say that Neymar isn't like Messi. They are completely like Messi.
What you mean?
Messi essentially runs Barcelona, and he can decide whether the manager gets the thumbs up or the thumbs down.
I'd say Messi definitely has more power in Barcelona than Neymar is in PSG. Because literally their whole success was, I mean, Barcelona's success for the last 10 years is based on Messi being so good. Like, if Messi wasn't as good as he has been, Barcelona wouldn't have won nearly as many trophies as... I mean, they've had other players, let's not get that wrong, they've had other world-class players, your Xavis, Iniestas, Suarez, and then Neymar when he was there. But still, like, I think whenever I watch PSG, like they done really well last season to get a Champions League final. They were only beaten 1-0 by an informed Bayern Munich at that time. Every time I watch them, I just think, you know what, like Neymar and Mbappe, best players in the team by far. Everyone else I was looking at going, are the rest of the team really that good? Not really. I think they're so overly reliant on Neymar and Mbappe being in form. Just the way I looked at it, and because I was looking at the way they play, and all the plan was just get to Neymar and Mbappe and let Neymar and Mbappe just dribble and pass around their defence and score. That's literally their entire plan. But what I do know is that Poch will, I think he'll do a good job because he's a very good manager.
I think he's temporary.
For who?
PSG. I think he's temporary.
You mean he's chosen them as temporary job, or they chosen him as a temporary?
I think it's a bit of both.
But who are they going to get that's better?
I think PSG have picked him as a placeholder, and he has picked a placeholder job. I think it's mutually beneficial.
I get why it'd be I get why it'd be beneficial for PSG because he's a very, very good manager. Why would it be beneficial for him?
Because it gets him back in the conversation, doesn't it? And I know what you're going to say. He was never out of it. Yeah. He's
never left the conversation. He's always been. He could have literally waited for anyone, his ideal job, to come and get him, because any club in the world would have wanted to get him. Like, if Barcelona wanted to not have Koeman anymore, they could have gone and spoke to him. Real Madrid, if you want to get rid of Zidane, he could have waited.
Fingers crossed that's still going to happen. No, I think I see him leaving in like 1 or 2 years for Madrid or wherever he's going to pay him enough money. I don't see him winning a Champions League with PSG. I've got to be honest.
I think it's too early to say. Yeah, I still think I think depends what players he brings in, or if he's able to bring any players in, and he gets his style of playing imprinted on them. But I think he'll do all right.
Developing young players, I will say that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And PSG have some good players. So we'll see what happens.
But considering he was manager at Tottenham when they lost the Champions League final and then proceeded to have a bad run, and he's now taking over a club that reached the Champions League final and then proceeded to have a bad run, or doing a Tottenham, as I'm going to dub it.
Well, I mean, if PSG really had a bad run,
I mean, by their standards,
really.
By their elite standards.
You see, that kind of mentality just reminds me of Madrid, where it was everything's going to be absolutely perfect, otherwise you're out, and it can't be that way. Like, I know they're meant to be, obviously PSG are by far the biggest club in France, and they got the most money, but seriously, like, as long as you're in the conversation for league and Champions League, then you're doing your job, because that's what you're meant to be doing as PSG manager. Like, I know people's like, oh, it's you pretty much guaranteed league and title, so it's that if you don't win. I just like
they should guarantee themselves the league title.
I personally think
they're 3 points behind Lyon.
I personally think that Tuchel was sacked not for league performance. I think it was for his disagreements with players and falling out with the board.
Yeah,
because he was very. He had this position where he would lose his temper a lot. He could tell if he wouldn't just. He's not a yes man. He's not an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. If the board tells him something he doesn't agree with, he's going to say, "No, I disagree with you." And obviously, the board most club boards don't want that.
Nope, they want a yes man.
They do want to. What I mean?
They want a yes man.
Exactly. They want someone who's going to do what they want them to do, and still guarantee them success within their limitations, which is what most clubs want. Man United being a perfect example.
Oh yeah, that's true. That is true.
Like everyone thought Poch would wait for United to get him,
but they never did.
Real Madrid or United.
But they never did. They never made that move.
Well, then again, he decides to stay with Ole. It goes on to my point I was trying to make before about managers at risk. I think with the current situation, the current financial climate, clubs are going to be hesitant to sack managers, even if they're on terrible runs. Like we're saying about Chris Wilder, Sheffield United, they're not going to get rid of him because they're hesitant to. They want someone to come in and then they want the guaranteed survival, because then they've got to pay out Chris Wilder his contract with money they can't afford to pay out, and they've got to pay out new money to get a new manager. Especially with the big clubs now, like I bet if the board want to sack Ollie, like they have to pay him a big amount of money as a settlement.
But that's the gamble. That's the gamble of football.
That's the thing. But they don't. The thing is that in a normal climate they could afford to gamble.
That is true.
Because you can recoup money. Then you can recoup your money with your match day sales and your merchandise. But clubs now aren't making any money. So really, they want to save as much as they can. They can't afford to be risking or anything like that. I've got my point then, but
no, I know what you mean. It's gambling at normal times is there's a risk and reward to it, but gambling during a pandemic is not
exactly.
It's not a gamble worth the worth the money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say that Tuchel joins a great list of PSG managers, some of which have had success elsewhere and some of which haven't. Unai Emery coming to mind. The brilliant managerial genius of Unai Emery coming to mind. Mesut Ozil is our next talking point. Mesut Ozil. The player that some Arsenal fans reckon they need in the team. Apparently the club have begun reportedly talking to the player about the termination of his contract. First of all, I think the easiest question to ask and to get it out of the way very quickly, do Arsenal need him?
I don't know. If I was an Arsenal fan, I'd probably have an answer for you. I would say that they could probably do a bit of creativity, but then that also brings up is, well, what about his all-round play? You know, how much is he actually going to contribute to the team other than an attacking sense? I don't know. I mean, it just seems to be that it's not a simple case of do they need him. It's he's just not going to get given a chance.
I've always found Özil to be an incredibly frustrating player to because he turns up for big games, but then he's a big game player, and then at other times he just stands there and goes, "Well, I can't be asked."
Well, I think for me is that he's incredibly talented, and you are right. Is that I just don't think he brings out often enough. Maybe not in that way, but he turns up against the big teams. But when you're playing against
the most attention,
when he's playing against the smaller sides, and by smaller I don't mean no disrespect to the clubs, but in terms of non-top 6 clubs. When like on average against those teams, because they're going to be they haven't got as many talented players, they're going to be running a lot more. He's not going to chase back and track back into his own half to make tackles. He's not going to do that. He's shown it now. Now, obviously, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, because I wouldn't say that a player not tracking back would result in him getting completely frozen out the side altogether. I think they'd probably just bench him or put him in the under-23s or something and basically say to him, you need to change the way you're playing, otherwise you're not playing. Obviously, I think personally, it's something going behind the scenes. I think Arteta just does not get on with him at all. He just doesn't even want to try with him.
Well, Unai Emery had problems with him apparently, so it's not unique to Arteta. It should be added.
Maybe if it's a number of different managers now and they're having the same issues, questions I've already pointed to Ozil. Something's happened with both managers, and they just don't even want to give him a chance.
So, they need. I do think that Arsenal are crying out for a wee bit of creativity, but the players they're being linked with, they're not going to buy. Gilberto Silva, former Arsenal. Gilberto Silva, the former Arsenal.
Former.
Brazilian fullback.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about a current player then. I was going to say.
Arsenal legend Gilberto Silva. Telling them to go get Jack Grealish. Now that's going to cost you in excess of £100 million.
Yeah,
that's unrealistic.
No one's get him.
That is unrealistic. Even Manchester United probably can't afford Jack Grealish. To be honest, is he going to leave Aston Villa? Probably not. No. Probably not. He's
not anytime soon anyway. He's just signed a 5-year deal.
He is the main guy. He is the guy that runs the show there. And I think as a player, if I was in that position, I'd never leave. I'd just be like, no, I'm the main guy here.
Yeah.
Unless something disastrous happens.
He's wholly loved by every person in that club because he's the main guy, as you said. He's just signed a brand new 5-year contract. He's playing that well that he's got into the England squad, so you can't even use that excuse of move to a top 6 club to get into the England to break into the England side, because he's getting into the England side. There's no way he can't get into the England side. He's just too expensive. The thing is, if they wanted to get him, they should have got him in the summer.
Yeah,
but they didn't.
And they weren't even being linked with him in the summer. It now seems
You were
that they're
linked with
just.
him. You were linked with him.
I thought it was Tottenham that was linked with Jack Grealish and
I
Manchester
think a
United.
couple. To be honest, a couple of people were linked with him, but even that point, they were still, Aston Villa were saying pretty much no less than, 60, 70 million. So if he wants to get him for the cheapest point, that's how cheap they were going to get him for. Now they could charge anything for him.
Yeah, it would be in excess of 100 million.
Or even then, I mean, probably firstly they'd say just no cost, he's not even try. But then if a club would just even get a chance of getting him, they'd have to come in straight away and say, here's 120 million. It would have to be something that Aston Villa just couldn't ignore.
Yeah, it would have to be insane amounts of money. But going back to Arsenal and Mesut Ozil, so Gilberto Silva saying that they just need to spend big and get in a creative player to replace.
But how can he spend big at the moment?
Exactly. That's the point you were making earlier. Gambling during a pandemic. It's not
exactly.
It's all great going to the poker table and cashing in your chips right now, but there's no point in sticking all your chips on 4 black or something like that. So there's no. I have no idea how roulette works.
I mean, I've seen Arsenal linked with what's his name, Julian Draxler, PSG.
Oh yeah, but they're constantly linked with Draxler.
Yeah, and then they've been linked with Julian Brandt at Dortmund as well, and because they're both attacking German players. I mean, thing is, they're not going to bring Ozil back in. They're just not.
No, they're not.
They do need an attacking player, but then are they actually going to go and spend the money to go and get one in? That we don't know. I think Ozil, if he wants to play football, needs to move. I think the best deal for him is try and get the remaining 6 months or whatever he's owed from his contract paid up.
Yeah.
Rip the contract up and then go to Fenerbahce straight away or whoever it is in Turkey and get a new one with them. Yeah. Fenerbahce's the one he's been linked with mostly. That's what I think is the best for him. If he's 81 now, this is going to be I would think it's going to be his last move before he starts quite, towards the end of his career. If he wants to, I'll say secure his long-term future in terms of financially, him and his agent need to go to Arsenal and say, look, it's clear you're not going to pay me, not going to play me. Just pay up what you owe me for my contract. And then I'm gone. Then you don't need to worry about me.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a few articles, and one from the Sun newspaper. They're reporting that obviously he's on 350. I think you said it. £350,000 a week. He would be owed 7.2 million ahead of a move if they wanted to pay off his contract to Fenerbahce. I'm surprised it's Fenerbahce and not Istanbul Başakşehir here, because I thought the Turkish government conspiracy. Allow me to doff my tin-foil cap and say, I thought the Turkish government would have hijacked the deal and gone, no, you're going to play for our team, which is Istanbul Başakşehir. Sorry, I'm fueling the fire of the conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, you're bringing out your old. You're bringing out your old personal business here.
I mean, they're not a real club. They've got They've been around for 5 minutes. I mean, anyway, not that I care about Turkish football because I don't.
Yeah.
£7.2 million for the 32-year-old. Can't see him.
32, is he?
He's 32, and he was at 32 in October, and I can't see him. I mean, Fenerbahce is I don't want to say it's a retirement home. Yeah. Maybe he'll get 2 or 3 years. I could see him going to America or China. Actually, no, I can't see him going to China. Sorry, I can't see him going to China because of what he said about the Rohingya Muslims. So he will never go to China. Because and actually, to be fair, there is a theory that because he spoke out about that, Arsenal stopped playing him at that point. Technically not, but it didn't exactly please the Chinese Arsenal fans. Let's just say that. But you know what? He He is of Turkish heritage. He will go to Fenerbahce, it looks like. That's where he wants to go. And, good on him. He wants to get out of there and move on.
What we're saying about, Arsenal had to pay out 7.2 million.
7.2?
What I heard, 7.2 million. If he wants to save money, and I was speaking to you about this before, what I heard on Sky Sports is that they could do a thing where he goes on loan for the last 6 months of his contract and only pays a certain amount of his wages if you want to save money.
Yeah, I will say this. Reports in Turkey have claimed that Fenerbahce have agreed a 3.5-year deal with Ozil worth £90,000 a week. That would require Arsenal paying the rest of his salary for the remainder of his current contract. Although there are fears at Arsenal he could just sit on the shelf until the end of his contract. He may snub the move in January to collect his full wages and the hefty club loyalty bonus as well, due to come in June. He's also been linked with DC United as well. By the way, Fenerbahce £275 million in the red, so in debt. £275 million. Turkish football is not in a healthy state, and you wonder why Istanbul Başakşehir won the league title.
Here we go again.
That's it for us. So, speaking of stories that we missed over Christmas, Borussia Dortmund. They got rid of their manager. They've replaced him with Edin Terzic on an interim basis until the end of the season. And I think I know who the next Borussia Dortmund manager is. I'm going to take a stab at this one. Thomas Tuchel will make his sensational return to Borussia Dortmund at the end of the season. Maybe I'm just being a tit.
No, you're being a tit. Yeah. I mean, in general, you're being a tit anyway, but for this, I
excel at being a tit, to be fair.
Yeah.
Let's be fair.
But now you're being an even bigger tit. Yeah, it's not going to be Thomas Tuchel.
You don't see him going back to Dortmund? I mean, he was sacked by them, I guess. So he only lasted two. Back? I mean, he left with 68 wins, 23 draws, 17 defeats in 108 games. That's a 62.96% winning percentage.
I can't even remember why they sacked him. Was he in the back of a bad position?
Well, it was marred with controversy with strained relationships with the club's hierarchy. Oh, where have I heard that about Thomas Tuchel before?
We haven't heard that before, I was going to say.
Tuchel publicly criticised the conduct of the club.
Conduct?
Publicly criticised UEFA, demanded to play their Champions League quarterfinal first leg. It was about dates and about the tour bus of the German team Borussia Dortmund attacked at a road. Were they bombed? Were they bombed back in 2017? I can't remember that story.
I heard something about
they were attacked, and he wanted the game postponed. And when UEFA didn't, he criticised the UEFA and the club for not standing up and saying, "Well, no, we want to refuse to play this game." And apparently the club blocked moves for players as well that he wanted to sign, so he left.
Well, that's never going to be great for either side. That no.
So I don't think he'll go there, but I don't know what I don't know what will his next job be.
Where would he go? I don't think there'd be any sort of the big clubs in European leagues. He could possibly go to
I could see him doing that. I could see him going to a. You know what? I could see him going to a club, not this club, but a club like Southampton. A club
what do you mean?
Like Southampton, like of that size that they have. Obviously, he's not going to go to Southampton. They're in a very good position. They've got a very good manager. But a club of that kind of middling, mid-table, upper mid-table club.
I could see him going to a sort of one of the best of the rest in Italy or something.
Yeah, but would that interest him, like Inter Milan or somebody like that? I don't know. Come to Swindon Town, Thomas. We'll have you. Get rid of John Sheridan. Oh, well, we can't afford
You'll give him a club tour yourself, won't you?
Yeah, I'll
don't pay for a Mackey's for him.
Oh, I'll take you to Greenbridge Retail Park. You can. I'll show you how to drive the Magic Roundabout, even though I've never actually driven it because I've always shat myself before driving it. So, yeah, I'll give you the tour. I'll show you the abandoned factories and where the Honda factory is and where that will be abandoned in 2021. Come to Swindon. I'll give you a grand tour. Speaking of, the grand tour was filmed here. So.
We should tweet him our phone number. Get him to call in.
Get him to call in. One other story.
Thomas, are you interested?
One other story which I was surprised about was Fleetwood Town, Return of the Mac. They got rid of Joey Barton.
I mean,
I don't think they were doing a bad job. I don't think he was doing a bad job.
But it's Joey Barton. That's all I have to say.
I mean, I was hoping for more of an argument on this, but I get what it's Joey Barton. Hey, he was doing a good job.
He's an embarrassment as a Scouser.
I mean, they were 10th in the in League One, and because they reached the playoffs last season, that is apparently unacceptable. I find that perplexing. I thought Joey was doing a very good job.
I think this season, clubs' expectations of where they should be need to be looked at again, because where they usually are last season and in normal seasons, they can't be expected to be in the same spot this season. I think for most clubs.
I will say Joey Barton is being linked with I believe the Port Vale and the Sheffield Wednesday job, from what I've seen. The Sheffield Wednesday and Port Vale.
Imagine if he went to Sheffield Wednesday and said, "Oh, I'm managing the biggest club in Sheffield."
I'm managing. No, yeah, I can. No.
Just him and Chris Wilder scrapping.
That would actually be quite funny. Apparently, he's fourth favourite to be the next Sheffield Wednesday manager. Is Joey Barton. Mick McCarthy.
He was
McCarthy has been sacked as well.
By was it Applewell Nicosia or something?
Applewell Nicosia. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just after 2 months in charge, Mick McCarthy. 3 days ago, he was sacked.
I saw that. I laughed my head off. It's because I told you, didn't I? He was flirting with all the players' daughters.
You know what? I realised he took Terry Connor with him, the old Wolves boss. And he just went there for a freaking holiday to get out of the UK for a bit.
He went to top his town and flirt with the local women. That's
exactly
all it was. I told, didn't I?
Applewell Nicosia have now sacked him. So Mick McCarthy.
I mean,
no longer.
No offense to Applewell Nicosia. I'm sure they're a great club, right? But
they're
how
in the
bad do you have
Champions
to
League
do
a
to get
few years
sacked?
ago.
That's what I mean, in the Champions League. Like, how bad do you have to do to get sacked by them? Like, did they just not show up for training? Did they call in? Did he come in drunk? It wouldn't surprise you with him.
I have no idea. But apparently it's a run of 4 consecutive defeats have seen the club deciding to get rid of him.
Defeats.
Exactly.
Oh.
They finished third last season. They're currently 10th, 1 place lower than when he took over.
That is like unprecedented levels of banter. Unprecedented.
I'll say it one more time. Mick McCarthy.
I was going to say, I can imagine the club's board. I can imagine the club's board calling him in, and he comes in with a cocktail in his hands and a cigar, and the club's like,
socks and sandals. Socks and sandals.
Socks and sandals with his short and his little Hawaiian shirt on, and like
cargo shorts.
Sorry, Mick. We've run out of money for your strip party, for your sex parties. We're gonna have to get rid of you.
Oh goodness!
And he's like, what?
What? You can't get rid of Mick McCarthy.
Can't get rid of me. What am I going to do without my sex parties?
What am I going to do? This was my bloody holiday. They're not going to let me back into the UK. Have you seen the shit that's going down there, lad? This was my escape, lad.
As soon as I cross that border, they're going to be arresting me.
As soon as I cross that border, I'm going to have to self-isolate in fucking Barnsley for 14 days. I don't want to fucking self-isolate in fucking Barnsley.
Yeah, have you seen Barnsley? It's a fucking shithole.
It's a fucking shithole. I'd rather stay. Can you just make me director of football or something? I'll resign as manager. Just make me director of football. I'll fuck it. I'll take the head of the fans. I'll take the head of the supporters group, just so I can stay here and top up my tan. Oh goodness! 2 months in charge of Applewell Nicosia and Mick McCarthy. We love you
Mick
dearly. We love Mick.
He's dear to our hearts.
He's dear to our hearts. The joke that Mick McCarthy is gone from Applewell Nicosia.
We apologise for any people from Barnsley. The joke on Mick McCarthy's been our little joke for.
It has been our little joke for.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus! All I can remember is just seeing you in a room and just going, Mick McCarthy. Just. And then you come up to me and just go, Mick McCarthy.
All we need to say is say it.
Oh, we know what we're talking about. Mick McCarthy.
Just show the gif or the gif, however you say it, of the camera panning on him and then just looking at a little smirk,
Yeah, that was at Wolves, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Goodness me. Right, well, I'm just looking at
him. You can imagine him just standing in the mirror, combing his hair and his bald spots,
Oh, goodness.
Mick, if you're listening, we love you.
We do. I'm just looking at the Manchester United score. It's still 1-0 to Manchester United.
It's a bit terrible.
It's a bit terrible. And it's Sunderland 1, Hull City 1 in League One. So the Premier League team,
also a bit terrible.
The Premier League game from 2017, now in League One. How the mighty have fallen. I was saying earlier during the Swindon Town live stream, I'm used to playing teams like Rushden and Diamonds, Kettering Town, Darlington. Back in my youth, it was Rushden and Diamonds, Kettering Town, maybe Kidderminster Harriers occasionally, and Darlington and Wigan Athletic before they won the FA Cup, before they got to the Premier League, when they were a tiny, insignificant club. And now, of those clubs, I've got Sunderland, Ipswich Town, and Hull City in League One. Sorry, Rushden and Diamonds, Darlington, Kettering, and Kidderminster. Go fuck yourselves. I'd rather take Sunderland, Hull City, and Ipswich Town.
Isn't Kidderminster in National League?
Oh, I have no freaking idea where they are now, but I know they're an ex-football league team. I think Kettering went out of business. I know Rushden and Diamonds did. They were in League One. Oh, goodness. Well, they weren't in League One. They're in Division 2. That's how long it was ago. Division 2. Ah, goodness. I'm just looking at for some reason, I'm just looking at the Blackpool. The absolute scenes from Blackpool. Osasuna are playing Real Madrid. Who do you think would win that one?
I mean, the random question.
I know it's a random question.
I would say any normal day, Real Madrid.
Well, Real Madrid are dominating this match with 71% possession, 6 shots,
but
only 1 on target. And it's 0-0.
Yeah, pretty average, really.
56 minutes played, and Barcelona won 4-0 against Granada earlier. Please sack Zidane. Just get rid of him. Just get rid of him.
Who thinks going to be next Real manager?
Thomas Tuchel.
You wouldn't take him.
I could see him taking that and just getting sacked at the end of the season.
Yeah, if they offered it to him, but of course he'd snap it up in an instant. But I don't think they'd offer it to him.
I reckon they would until the end of the season.
No, I think they'd probably. I think if he was available, he would have gone for Poch.
That's true.
You know what? I was just gonna say. Every time the camera here, I've got this Man United match on, which to be fair, I would rather be watching the Sunderland Hull match because Man United got Jesse Lingard playing, and that's never a good sign. But every time the camera pans to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I know I've said this to you before, but I keep on thinking he's going to pull a golden ring out and start caressing it, saying, "My precious." I really do. Like, he looks just like
it's him just on the back of Marcus Rashford going, "My precious."
Yeah,
my precious goal scorer.
Marcus Rashford's whispering in the black tongue, trying to influence people holding them.
Yeah. And then he just goes to Paul Poch. We no want you. We want the precious.
And he's just Marcus Rashford's giving him a piggyback. God. Don't get me started, because I'll just start quoting Lord of the Rings in a minute. Can we say? I was going to start saying if we're saying like real life people as like Lord of the Rings characters, who could we have?
I mean, this is a bit of a random tangent.
Yeah,
but let's go.
I'm trying to think of like managers and players who match up with characters. I'm trying to think of like really short people who could be the hobbits. I don't know.
I don't know.
I've gone off on a tangent here.
It's a tangent I can't give any answers to.
Yeah, I mean, literally, the only thing I think is, I know it's the age-old joke, but Ollie literally is Smeagol. He literally is.
Oh goodness! Who always falls on their sword? That'll be Sean Bean's character.
Falls on their sword.
Oh goodness! Right. 45 minutes to go. Let's get into our final talking point. It's all about circuit breakers and not about the electrical circuit breakers.
I was going to say no.
COVID circuit breakers.
Electricity stocks. We're not engineers here.
Yeah. This is engineering tonight.
God, that's dreary.
I know. Well, engineering can be cool.
Let's talk the ins and outs of this particular code that we're going to get on screen right now.
Let's have a look. So there are claims. Premier League. Karen Brady came out and said claims of Premier League clubs discussed a 2-week circuit breaker are complete nonsense.
Oh, but this is the same Karen Brady who wanted null and void at the end of last season.
Yeah, when it looked like West Ham were going to get relegated.
West Ham were going to get relegated. Yeah.
Because everyone's just everyone is
Callum Brady needs to piss off.
Sam Allardyce insists he did not say the Premier League must have a circuit breaker.
He said he should.
And claims his words were misconstrued as West Brom players, 2 of them, test positive.
Well, it wouldn't be hard for people to misinterpret what Big Sam's saying, because you're always talking with a roast dinner in his mouth.
Sausage rolls, get the sausage rolls. Well, he's from Birmingham, isn't he? Sausage rolls, get the sausage rolls. Go down, Greggs. Down the wing, lad. Down the wing. To Greggs. Greggs. Oh. Goodness.
You can tell what he's like when he has cravings, doesn't he? He's like whatever his wife's name is, like, Barbara, I've got a cravings for my sausage rolls.
I was going to say TalkSport have reported that Premier League fixtures aren't going to be postponed. I mean, time's against them if they want to do it, because they got the Euros in the summer.
Exactly. The thing is, the season's already been squashed together.
Exactly.
So where are they going to fit all the fixtures? Like, how many matches have already been postponed because of positive tests? So they're still going to have to fit them in somewhere, and then they've still got to finish the season on time. When's this going to happen? Trust me, the big question that people have been trying to figure out for thousands of years is, can we try and get more time? When the answer is no. You've got limited amount of time. You're going to get so many matches done. The thing is that, like, the protocols are in place, aren't they? Like, the clubs have already got all the protocols for the testing, and the players are meant to be following the guidelines for the the bio bubble and that. So what annoys me is when you see idiots, and that's probably the most polite word I could use for them, like bloody Kyle Walker and Benjamin Mendy, and I'm not just saying this because they're Man City players. I don't like Man City. When you see idiots having New Year's parties and bloody sex parties.
Kyle Walker.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
I don't think it was a sex party. I think Kyle Walker and Ben Mendy, they both hosted New Year's parties. And
Sam Allardyce just turns up with bags of Greggs going, hey,
come on, lads.
I've come to party, lads. Let me in. I've got the Greggs.
I'm having a heavy one tonight, lads.
Where's Jamie Vardy just turns up with some WKD?
I was going to say, yeah.
Well,
that's spread wealth. But it's kind of awkward, isn't it, for the Man City players? Because if you pick one, you're basically saying to the other one, "I'm not your mate." You're picking your mates, aren't you? If you pick which one to go to. But still, back to the point. When you see idiots, football players who are meant to be role models to thousands of people, young people, paid ridiculous amounts of money, we're in the middle of an epidemic, pandemic.
A pandemic.
Countries on lockdown. People are losing their jobs. I mean, trust me, I know, because I speak to the idiots all day for my work. So I know how many people have bloody not got enough money to feed the children because they can't work. And you see idiots getting paid all sorts and then still risking people's health to go and have New Year's parties. Like, they should be banned. They should have so many time banned because they're absolute fools. Will they be punished? No. But they should be. But I don't get the whole thing of, let's do the circuit breaker, because it's not going to help anyone. It's only 2 weeks. Players, as I was saying to you before, players have still got to train in that time, because they can't just go and sit home for 2 weeks doing nothing and then come back in and be match fit for the next football match.
And as we say, and I just want to take a moment to say hello to Lewandowski_23 on Twitter, who just commented and said, "Get down, Greggs! Get down, Greggs!"
Hey,
that's what he commented.
Lewandowski, big up to Lewandowski. Rob to the Ballon d'Or.
There you go. I'm just like, as we've said, there's not enough days in the year, time in the day. Unless we're going to start playing nighttime matches as well as daytime matches. You've got the European Championships at the end of the season, and then you've got the World Cup is next year Christmas.
Which starts, sorry.
2022 World Cup is Christmas. So so you've got the Euros this summer, then the World Cup next Christmas.
That's the Euros have already been pushed back. You can't with the World Cup coming in the year after. You can't push that back. Then you got whenever the next AFCON is for all the African players.
I think that's been postponed now by a year. So we've talked about that before, but it was meant to be this year, I think.
I can't remember. This year, I think it was. Yeah.
I was.
Players
40
aren't getting the
tests.
Players aren't getting the necessary breaks in terms of once the season ends. I
mean, we've started to see the young, as we saw today in the FA Cup with Aston Villa. Yesterday with the FA Cup with Aston Villa. It's back to the team bus for the Tiddlywinks team, and even Derby County playing their Tiddlywinks team and getting beat by Chorley.
I'm just surprised about is the amount of positive tests that are coming out now.
40.
What was it?
And I think were reported from.
I thought the EFL yesterday out of 3,500 put 120 or something.
Oh no, that 40 is just from the Premier League.
40.
So 40 is just from the Premier League.
Oh, okay. Well, yesterday I saw the figure from the AFL, but still, 40 people. I was, just going on thinking. I was saying to my mum and dad last night, we're all going to get it because this new strain is going to infect everyone. Now, before we can even roll out the vaccines properly. Everyone's just going to get it. So pretty much he's going to be having a lot of people homesick with the flu, basically. It's just what I don't get is that obviously they had like a month lockdown, didn't they, from November to December, and then they brought the tiers in because they saw that it was going, in certain areas it was going down. Like for me, Liverpool went to tier 2 because we done the mass testing thing and it worked, and then suddenly out of nowhere, when we're on the rise, this new strain that appears out of nowhere in like the south east or southwest.
Kent.
Yeah.
Kent.
Yeah, Kent just appears and then suddenly, boom, cases right back on the rise. Every day, 60,000 plus new cases, record cases being reported. Record deaths being reported every day. Like, it's utterly bizarre. Like, we're on lockdown, it's just doing nothing.
Well, that,
That's what it seems to be. I don't think it's doing any difference. And the government wants to, I'm hesitant to dive into politics, but once again, government failing to handle it properly.
I mean, aside from the civilian lockdown, and we're talking about the Premier League, I just got that EFL report of 112 positive tests from its strategic-wide league mass testing before the FA Cup, which, as you said, 3,507 people. From 66 EFL clubs tested.
I mean, you're getting so many clubs now where, lots of clubs where you're getting like 2 or 3 positive tests, but then so many clubs now where it's like the whole first team, Aston Villa, Derby, I think some Scottish clubs are as well, where the entire club, like they're having to close down training grounds, do deep cleans.
Newcastle had their training ground closed over Christmas, didn't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, how is it getting that bad where... What is it? Is it a case of, obviously you don't know the circumstance, but is it a case of one player's bringing it in from the outside and then it's just spreading in the training grounds? It's just... It baffles me.
It depends what bubbles you're... I don't honestly know the protocols,
No, neither do I.
But the Premier League have apparently issued new COVID rules, including no hugging and random spot checks for stars after lockdown breaches. So this is, once again, the Sun newspaper reporting this. The Premier League have ordered clubs to enforce new COVID clampdown or face consequences. It was revealed last week that league chiefs are drafting a new and enhanced set of regulations over fears clubs were ignoring the protocols that had allowed Project Restart last summer. If the clubs can't follow it, then shut the fucking league down.
Well, that's
if the players can't obey their own rule set,
the players shouldn't be playing.
The players shouldn't be playing. They should get. You know what? They should treat it like you're getting a red card.
Yeah.
Suspension.
Yeah, ban, suspension. That's what it should be. If you can't follow the rules, you don't play. Because you're not following the club rules, you're not following the league rules, you're not following the government rules. You're breaking the law.
So I'm gonna go back 17 years now to when Rio Ferdinand was banned for 8 months for missing a drugs test. And I think it was later overturned, but still. I still think the punishment. I think a punishment now for missing a COVID test or doing something or breaking the rules should be like an 8-month ban minimum. Or a ban until the end of the season.
Yeah, well, I think it depends on the severity.
Substantial.
I think depending on the severity of the breach. Like if you've missed a test, then maybe a ban of say. Maybe a month, 4 or 5 matches. If you're like, where you host a New Year's party and you're blatantly, then it should be, 8 months. Because I think there's got to be some kind of punishment put in place because right now there's nothing. Players are doing what they want. They're going, oh yeah, go and self-isolate, and then yeah, come back to training, and everything carries on as normal. Like they're like, as I was saying to you, people normal people who don't earn, you aren't lucky enough to earn as much as these people, these players, are out of work and are struggling to survive, right? In this miserable world we got at the moment, and these players are taking it for granted, and it's got to be hit them where it hurts, stop them where, make it financial penalty, a fine
I
of
think
how
you
much.
can suspend them without pay.
Yeah, suspend them without pay, hit them where it hurts, because if they're not getting paid, then they'll realise, right, I won't do that again.
Well, it would
'Cause I'm
also
out of
help the
pocket
club
then.
as well because they wouldn't have to pay their wages.
Yeah, well, exactly. So it's a win-win because you harshly, punishment fits the crime, so to say. You send a message that it's going to be no tolerance for breaches, and then you save yourself money. But they won't do that
They won't.
because once again, the player agents will come in and go, "Well, that's not fair," and
That's a
they'll
breach of
go to court
contract.
about it. They'll go to court about it, which will cost even more money. And at the end of the day, the only person who'll win is the agent because the agent will get more money out of it, and nothing will happen.
I will add these comments. Steve Bruce says it's morally wrong. The Newcastle boss says it's morally wrong for football to continue in increasing outbreaks of coronavirus. Obviously, they had to postpone one of their matches, some of their matches, and as we've already mentioned, their training ground had to be closed for a deep clean. And Alan St. Maximin has still not recovered.
Yeah, he's very, very
yet.
ill. Yeah,
He's still not recovered from the coronavirus. So we want to wish him well.
yeah.
But it's, I mean, even when you got Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, has warned all bets are off if those involved in Scottish football or Scottish sport rather do not respect the rules, and we've even seen her come out and say that she's criticised Celtic for going to Dubai for a mid-season training break.
That shouldn't have even been brought up in conversation. That how on earth can Celtic's board go, yeah, this is legitimately what we're going to do, and this is sound. I don't understand that.
I don't know. Maybe she's a Rangers fan.
I mean,
no, I don't think she is.
To be fair,
no, she does have a good point about it.
She does, and she's Nicola Sturgeon. She takes no shit. Like she says and what she says, and she'll straight away if the footballers think they can take the piss, she'll just go right off.
Yeah,
So
and she will cancel
clearly,
it.
Yeah, she'll straight away cancel it. The problem is that obviously, we were saying a couple of weeks, I think it was our last show or the one before about player welfare and that. As you're saying about Alan, say Maximin and that, and all the players who've got it and haven't recovered, they've been really ill for it. Obviously, you've got to look after the players as well. What is going to happen though? Probably is that regardless of player welfare, the Premier League and probably all the owners of the clubs will all come in meetings, and they can't they don't want it to be closed again. They want to avoid that at all cost because of what happened in the first one. Because then the last one was, when was it? It was what, 3 months, 4 months? It was stopped for. How long would it be this time? They've done it again. There's no point doing this. There's no point doing a circuit breaker, a stopgap, because it wouldn't help anything. They'd have to stop it and stop it altogether.
And I would also add, with the Scotland situation, what doesn't help is that you've got thousands of untested players moving across the country participating in the Scottish Cup second round, which is, and we talked early on in the season about the Premier League clubs going up against EFL clubs in the League Cup, and some of them having to foot the bill for the EFL clubs, and putting their players at risk when the EFL wasn't properly back then financing its clubs to test their players. So it's a difficult situation. We know that. We know it's there are going to be more games that are going to be called off. Obviously, we had Southampton and Shrewsbury called off in the FA Cup. That's after the League One club reported a significant number of COVID positive cases, and we've had the Derby under 21s, under 23s, and the Aston Villa youth team as well play Liverpool and Chorley respectively. So, I mean,
well, the thing with the Aston Villa one is it's basically under 18s. The only reason they could do that is because the rule is you got to make up 14 players to the first team, and to still play the match. The only reason they're able to do it is that the players who played were in a different part of the build their training grounds, so it's basically like a different bio bubble. So that's the only way that they could draft up to the first team and play. If they were part of the same bubble, or if they didn't have enough players to bring up, then they would have had to forfeit it.
Because
they couldn't postpone it.
No, they couldn't. I've got to say that I am in favour of the circuit breaker. I'm in favour of a break from football, just because it is clear that the Premier League just want to make money, and what little money that they are making in this time, they are holding on to. So they're going to be badgering government. They were badgering government to get fans back in. And to be fair, and at the time, it was looking a much more positive situation. And I said, and I won't hide from what I said, that if you can fit 1,000 people into a theatre to watch an Arsene Wenger book talk, then you can have 1,000 people at the stadium to watch a football match. You can have and that's what I said at the time. And I think now I will admit
because it was working.
Wrong. I was wrong to say that.
Well, no, I think at the time, as you're saying, it was a lot more of a positive outlook, because I said cases were down. Obviously, we got put into the tiers, and cases were coming down slowly but surely. And then all of a sudden, what we couldn't foresee happening was that this new strain came, and obviously has caused what's happened now to happen. So I don't think you were wrong, because I said I was all for fans coming in, because I think it was what needed to happen. No one could have foreseen this new, what's happened. So I just don't know where this new strain's come from. How could it just appear out of nowhere? It's such good timing that as soon as we start getting things back, I'm not saying back to normal, but cases
the thing is, they
to
knew
come
about
down.
the new strain. I know this isn't a politics show, but they knew about the new strain as far back as October. Back when me and you were talking about letting fans back in the stadium. So if we had known that, then I reckon our tune would have been incredibly different. But we didn't have the full fact. They did.
No.
They just chose not to do anything about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, didn't even tell anyone if they did know it.
What they have said is that the new variant of the virus is not any more lethal than the original strain. It's just more contagious. It's more,
It spreads quicker.
It spreads quicker, but it's not in any way more lethal than
what
the
I'd like to know
original virus.
is where. Yeah, what I'd like to know is where these vaccines are, because I'm sure the third one's just been, put through for distribution. Was it Moderna? I think.
Yeah.
Where are they?
Your guess is as good as mine. You did say something off air that interests me regarding vaccines. Sean Dyche had a few things to say this week.
Oh yeah. Saying, well, I can't remember word for word, but he was saying on Sky Sports, in one of his press conferences, well, not really press conference, but and he was saying something like, the clubs. I don't know if it's just Premier League clubs or
I have the quote
DFL.
as well, but I'll you continue.
He was basically saying that rather than spending the millions that is currently being spent for clubs to be tested 2, 3, 4 times a week, he suggested vaccinating them, and then whatever money that would have been spent, put back into the NHS. And I was looking at that and I was going, well, he has a point.
Yeah. What he said was he's called for the fast-tracked coronavirus vaccine in football, with the money saved being diverted, as you say, to the NHS. And he said, I'll quote him for this. He said, I think vaccination is the way forward throughout football. I can only talk for the Premier League because I'm in the Premier League, but I think it would be good for football. I appreciate that some people will be surprised by the comment, but if you think about it rationally, we're all going to get vaccinated. A lot of people wanted football back. The cash it generates through tax, the well-being of what the players do, many times has been seen. There's a lot of good going on through football, and the amount of money being spent in Premier League testing, if that money was channeled back into the NHS and the vaccination system, surely that's a better place to be than it is just continuing testing a load of footballers 2, 3, 4 times a week. I appreciate there'll be some people who will say, why should footballers get vaccinated? But if there's 20 Premier League clubs and 100 vaccinations at a club, let's say, I would imagine the payback system, the NHS, and the vaccination system financially would be considerable. So he makes sound sense, but then you just get the people that won't read that. They'll just read the headline and go, no, why should these millionaires, they should pay for it themselves. But that's what they're saying. They're going to pay for it themselves. But, why should they jump the queue or something like that? So.
Yeah, you'll get people say that, but then you'll get people say as well, and I think Sean Dyche has mentioned as well, where he says, the elderly should get priority. That's right.
He does go on to say that, to be fair.
I think eventually, like, I know people our age won't, if
everyone
is
we're
eventually...
Last. We're last on the freaking list.
That's what I mean. So the thing is, eventually everyone's going to get it. It's going to be the over 85s first, because they're, I think 90% of the cases are for over 85, so they're going to get it first. They have to. It then comes,
Yeah,
he's saying fast track football players, but then you could also make the argument of, well, every sport person competition nowadays is getting so much testing done. You could say, well, why don't you just vaccinate every sports person, and then put all the money that's being spent back into the NHS.
I was going to say, you brought up my next point, which is the guy with the greatest name ever at the International Olympic Committee, Dick Pound.
Of course, you'd find another greatest name, wouldn't you?
Hey, I heard it in the sports news on the radio on Tuesday, and I just clipped it and went, "What was his name? Dick Pound."
Dick Pound.
And I just went, I'm sure, "That's the greatest porn name ever."
I'm sure it's short for William, or Richard.
Richard Pound. Well, then you'd be called Richard Pound, not
or
Dick
Richard
Pound.
Or Rich.
Rich Pound. Rich Pound. There you go. That sounds
Rick.
like the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Rich Pound.
I mean, I'd personally say Dick's a very old-fashioned, sort of shortened, abbreviated version of Richard.
I don't know how how you get Dick from Richard, but anyway,
who knows?
There are plenty of women that have probably wondered that question as well.
Well, it's like how does William get shortened to Bill?
Yeah, that's true. That's also
there's all sorts. But I mean, if he honestly calls himself Dick, that's his name on his driving license.
Dick Pound.
Yeah,
Dick Pound.
Dick Pound.
Dick Pound. Pornography.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the serious point. Back to the serious point. IOC committee member Dick Pound has also suggested I shouldn't laugh. Athletes should be given priority access to vaccines ahead of the Tokyo Olympics in July, which is to what you were saying.
Callum, I'm not saying athletes should be given priority. They shouldn't be first. But I'd say that if someone were to look at Sean Dyche's points and say, what, that has some merit to it, then it would be worthwhile looking at sports across the board, not just football, because they're testing everyone. So why not just, when it gets to that point where they're vaccinating that age range for footballers and, cricket players and basketball players in America and that, when it gets that age range, or however fast they can fast track it, then you may as well just do all athletes, regardless of whether there's a a Winter Olympics coming up, because there's the sport being played anyway,
Yeah.
regardless of any big events coming up. So
Because you've got the Olympic Games in the summer, the delayed one from last year, and then you bring up the good point of the Winter Olympics happening in January as well of 2022.
yeah,
So
yeah.
actually,
So
you've got two Olympic Games within the okay, they're the different Olympic Games, but
yeah, but
actually,
then you're gonna get people saying, well, what about the Euros coming up and the World Cup next year? Surely you can fast track football players for that. But then you're gonna get all sorts of people saying, well, we've got this event coming up, we've got this event coming up. Surely we should backtrack as
yeah,
well. And
and then that
you
becomes a
can't fast.
headache.
I mean, you can't fast track everyone
I mean,
because then it could.
I will just say the British Olympic Association and UK Sport have discussed ways of securing athletes a vaccination, but we're keen to stress that this would not be at the expense of the elderly or the vulnerable.
Right.
I think they should just go out and find their own. Like, the government paid for however many million of dosage. Maybe the sporting body should go out and buy their own. I mean,
Yeah,
that is a realistic possibility.
You're gonna get. I mean, the public are gonna get vaccinated by, NHS, taxpayers' money on the vaccinations. If these these organisations who had these, each sport, if they're so desperate to get fast track, go to the company who made the vaccinations and pay for it themselves.
Yeah,
If they're that desperate.
yeah.
Otherwise, just wait. I get the whole thing about fast tracking vaccinations so that the money can then go back to the NHS. I get that, but then it comes a conversation of, well, how can you choose to vaccinate these elite sports people over elderly people who basically can't look after themselves?
It becomes an argument nobody wants. It's a poison chalice, whatever way you look at it.
I mean, because then it comes a topic of morality. Then, like, are you going to let an old man or an old woman on their own potentially die
to give this millionaire
because they're much more
athletes?
Because they're much more. And the thing is that even if these sports people get if they get it and they get ill, they'll have a flu and they'll be ill. Saint Maximin, of course, hopefully recovers as soon as, but he's not going to die. He'll be ill. He's got the flu. Everyone gets the flu. It's flu season right now, right? You're going to feel like crap for a little while, and then you're going to get better. These elderly people, especially 85 pluses, they get sick. They've got no immune system. They're going to die. Very high chance.
So they need the vaccine.
That's why they're priority. So how are you going to choose athletes? I mean,
how are you going to choose footballers, athletes over that? Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, I look at myself compared to these. Like, I'm 26 years old. I look at a footballer age 26, and I would say that because they're in a much, much better physical condition than me, I'm probably more likely to die than them. Probably only a minuscule chance, but their body will be able to fight off better than mine can. So why would they get priority over me? I'm not saying I'm not going to be that. I'm not saying I'm going to be that selfish that I demand I get it from before football players. I'm not saying that at all. I'll wait my turn. But people would, people more selfish people. I'm not saying that I can't be selfish at times, but more selfish people would say, well, why do they get priority over me? No matter what age. And then it comes to. Then it comes to thinking about, like, what do you do about, like, ex-athletes and that who probably have a bit of money just from their sporting life. Are they going to get priority over other people of same age who haven't got the money they've got? Because they're celebrities. You can't. They're national icons. You can't lose them because they're national treasures. I mean, we're going to a whole conversation.
We're going very political.
Yeah.
Let's escape.
We're going political, and then we're going to, as I was saying, we're going to a story of morality. Choosing one life over another, who's worth more. So to say.
It's proper 1984 shit.
Yeah, my point is we're all weird the same. We're all human. Not one person's better than another.
Unless you're Donald Trump.
But oh God, don't get.
Jesus
I thought
Christ.
I mean, that's not really political, is it? That's more,
No, that's just
comedy.
more of him being a clown. But anyway, hey.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't wait for his OnlyFans to launch. Donald Trump's
I
OnlyFans.
love that.
Can't wait for it. That was this week's edition of the Football Fan Show podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you get your podcasts from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search the Football Fan Show live on YouTube. And our website, deadair.media/the Football Fan Show. This has been a Dead Air Media podcast. This has been the Football Fan Show. Every Sunday we publish this at 10 o'clock. And, of course, live on twitch.tv/the Football Fan Show every Saturday night, 7 till 10 p.m. Have a fab week, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.